Hi, everybody. It's only 14 minutes after the hour, so that's okay. I'm happy to have a full room, and welcome to the Historical Society's presentation this month, this session on the sweet spots of Branchville. This was suggested by some of our execs who wanted to relive their childhood of running around Branchville gathering up candy and ice cream. So we said, we'll do this, and it seemed to be a good idea, like it would be so easy at the time, but then I couldn't find pictures, but we had some people help us out, so that was good too. Anyway, without further ado, do you remember film strips when you're in school and the beeper would beep, and then Sheila is my mover of the slides. These are the places that we looked into when we were deciding what we're going to work on. The Branchville Confectionery. That is the building that is now Branch's Antiques. It's next to the parking lot of A&G Pizza. That was a confectionery shop, which I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about the history of it. We did that once with the Garris Center, but in 1912 it opened up as a confectionery shop. It was always owned by the Garrises. The building was always owned by the Garrises, but different people ran the business inside. And we have the wonderful display in our museum, the counter, the original counter, the stone top, the stools. It's right next door, right over there. So that was our first stop on the tour of sweet shops, because it's the oldest one that I had in my knowledge. Then the next one to open was Bedell's gas station. Who knew that the gas station was a hot spot for candy, but it certainly was. Branchville Pharmacy and Fountain, that seemed to have opened up somewhere in the 40s as a luncheonette and a candy and ice cream place. Notice Ori Field's name. I have no idea how to spell his name. I don't even know what his given name could have been, what the nickname was Ori, but he had a candy counter in his little store. Johnny's Smoke Shop, everybody kind of knew about that, which then became Jim's Village Lunch. And then Jerry's Luncheonette was a little bit further uptown. The Grand Union made the cut because of they had a limited supply, but the candy apparently they had gumball machines. And House 5 and Dime, the same thing. Although House 5 and Dime seemed to be more of the toy store. But we're going to get there. Oh my God. Well, we'll do our best. Anyway, this is, it could be out of a battery. This is, forget that. Let's see if this one works. I have two microphones, no waiting. This is the inside of the Branchville Confectionery, and there's Tessie Boliolio. And that counter is still that's the counter that's in our museum right now, with stools just as they are there. That's my pointer. Oh well. And that was open with the Boliolio. She lived next door to Dr. Lushier's house. So that she'd just walk up 2 or 3 houses to get to her store, open it up, and then the kids would show up. Obviously, you can see there's cigars in the cases and little luncheonette tables in the back. So that was quite the spot. The building then got run by the DiVincenzis. Notice there's a lot of Italians in Branchville. Who would have thought it? So the DiVincenzis took it over. Ernest ran it from 1924 to 1933. John from 33 to 44. And in the window, they sell oysters. See that? If I had my pointer, I could tell you about it, but I don't have my pointer. They sell oysters. And the other piece of information that showed up on Facebook the other day is that Connie Lanier, and she and Steve own that building now, and they were renovating it. They found oyster shells in the ground when they were renovating it. So that was DiVincenzi's. Betty DiVincenzi is Mayor Fredo's wife, right?
Yeah.
If I say anything incorrect, you call me out on it, because I tend to do that at times. So that was the DiVincenzi's, and then it became, oh, this is still DiVincenzi's. Up in the top, I know you can't, like, hang on, I'm going to move the screen. You can see the D, E, and the V.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Got it?
Yep.
I'm afraid it's going to snap on us. All right.
Got it.
Good. You can see that was the DiVincenzi's. So the building was called the confectionery because they sold treats and cigars and ice creams. It even says ice cream up there. So it was called the confectionery, but it had different owners of the business, not owners of the building. Okay. Then it became Gus Losa's place. Now, a lot of you guys called it Gus's. This is Gus's store. You went to Gus's to get your candy and your ice cream. And Gus was a great guy from all accounts. Everybody loved him. He supported the Little Leaguers, and they had a good time there. And then, after Gus's sad passing, his wife and kids ran it for a couple more years. But it was still Gus's, still the Losa's place. Then, this is the part that I didn't realize had happened. Johnny's Smoke Shop started there and was there for 4 years. Then he moved up.
Johnny worked for Gus.
Did he? Johnny worked for Gus. See, these are the stories that you need to tell me. Dave agrees with Dave. Good. What I heard about that, Pat Burns put it on his commented on Facebook, and my sister-in-law Jenny said the same thing. All those good Methodist kids that went to Sunday school, right next door to this place, Sunday school got out before church. And Jenny said her mother would give her like 15 cents, 10 cents for the offering, for Sunday school offering. She didn't put it in. Neither did Pat Burns. Pat gave him 15 out of his 25 cents. But they took their money next door to Johnny's and got candy before church let out, so they had treats to eat after Sunday school. I have a feeling their parents knew it, but what?
Branchville graduating class of 1950 for the first time used the Methodist Church, and Mr. Losa gave us all banana splits after graduation.
Wow! The 8th grade class of 1950 was given banana splits by Gus Losa upon graduation, because that was the first time they were in the Methodist Church. That's a great story. That's a great story.
Always was in the Presbyterian.
Yeah, and then apparently went back and forth Presbyterian Methodist, because we flipped it back. I graduated, this wonderful Presbyterian graduated out of the Methodist Church, and I know other people did the opposite, so. Okay, thanks. Then I got a great set of pictures from Lynn Bedell Pickett. This is one of them. But Bedell's, and I'm hopeful I did this right, Lynn. This is from the shop that was in the powerhouse. Is that right?
No, this was the gas station.
It says Bedell's Auto Supply, but it was the gas
It was the
station.
gas station.
All right, I'll have to adjust my slide. Those of you watching from home, it is not at the powerhouse. It's in the gas station, which you're going to see next. But that date was 1937. I just want to point that out. That's well early into the confectionery time. So, jump in anytime if you have something to say. I love this picture. Bedell's old Esso pumps and lots of candy. This is next to the building that's now the barnyard.
The building is actually gone now. There was a little tiny gap between Johnny's building and my father's building. I mean, it was just narrow.
Like you couldn't squeeze through
No,
it? No
no.
kids could get through that.
Yeah, the building
Those
is
two
gone.
buildings.
Yeah.
The building is gone, and now it's just a parking lot.
Yep.
They paved Paradise and put up a parking lot.
And the building next to it is Pearson's Hardware.
Pearson's was in, I wish I could find it must be
Pearson's
here.
was in the middle, yeah.
You don't see that pointer anywhere. Oh, I do. It's not your responsibility. Not too much of a responsibility. So, this is, I can't even see what that says. I got my magnifiers out and I couldn't read that, but that's probably some kind of grocery store.
Stop and
That was
Shop.
a-
What is it?
Stop Shop?
This says Stop and Shop? Not yet. I don't, well, maybe it does.
Yes, I'm
I've got
looking at
another
the
one
picture.
coming up that says Stop and
That
Shop.
was a Grand Union at one time.
Then it's Grand Union. I got that too, but this one I couldn't see. This is Pearson's. This is Pearson's.
Yep.
And then this is Bedell's Esso, otherwise known as Auto Supply.
We had a sign in there, Pearson's in there.
Pearson's Hardware is on, yep, and we got some paraphernalia from them too. But they just have these pumps up here, and I was talking to a guy that owns the most expensive gas station in Newton. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Jeff Bendix, yeah. I was talking to him, he said, I love that picture you put on Facebook about those old pumps. I said, oh yeah. I said, those are called May West pumps. He goes, no, they're not. I said, yeah, they are. No, they're not. And then I looked it up and I said, oh, Jeff, you're right. He was right. These are not May West pumps. These had lighted globes on the top. The May West pumps had an open, like, you pumped the gas up and it went up into the bowl at the top and it had measurements on it. And that's why you could tell how many, a quart, a gallon, whatever. And then it dumped it down into the car. But that's not what these are. Still pretty cool. All right, anybody know what year do you think this is from the car?
I think about 1936. That'd be something.
Okay, you're saying in the late 30s?
Yeah, I know, Dr. Johnson had a car like that, and he used to park it there along the main street.
That could be his car.
It was big, it was a coupe like that.
Mm.
He had the store, his office was just beyond,
It was in the pharmacy building.
that's right.
Which is
Yeah.
right where the car
Right,
was.
yeah. Right here is the pharmacy.
Yep.
I know it's not there, but that's where it is. All right, you could. Sheila's doing such a wonderful job. All right, this is the other side of the Esso station. This is the Culver Garage. Am I right? Okay. This is Madison Avenue, and some kind of batteries or tires. Battery. Okay.
So tires too.
I bet he
On the other
did.
side, the other window, yep.
Okay. They're open late.
Yep.
And then he got new pumps. Now that's the Stop and Shop. You see, that's a different sign.
Yeah.
Maybe the other one said Stop and Shop too. I just couldn't read it. What do you think, Lynn?
Well, it looks like Great something on the picture that I have. Was it a Great America?
Yeah.
And maybe there was. The first word looked like great.
Great,
is what I
okay.
have.
Okay. But the Grand Union came after Stop and Shop. So that's why. And then they got new pumps. He's standard dealer and this, I don't know what your car that is. That's the Hotel Branchville back here, and down here is what is now the post office, but it was Skip Perry's grocery and meat market, and Andy Eckweiler. A bunch of butchers lived in there. I mean that literally. Harry Doremus, they had butcher shops in that part of it. So by the time I got to town, it was 1966, and there was a ceramic shop in that section that was the butcher shop, but then it was ceramics. We used to go there and scrape greenware and paint it, and I think my mother loved it though. We never came home. We just go and sit there. Jeff probably broke everything. Okay. This one I like because there's a bicycle out here. Obviously, he's not filling up with gas, so he's out there buying
They
candy.
used to stop selling tires.
Oh,
Every week you hear one blow up. They put too much air in it. Might just laugh
so this is where the air pumps were too, up
on the
front?
side.
Oh, okay. That's funny. And this is a nice, and that says Stop and Shop too.
And that's a dark sign.
Yeah, you're right, that's a different sign. Very observant. I've been staring at this for a week and I didn't notice that. It's a different sign. And there's some cars back here. So this is, I don't know, does it look like the late 40s, 50s? That pickup truck looks pretty fancy. That's usually how I figure out when things are, by what people are wearing or what car they're driving. Okay. This is the Grand Union. And there's the, I don't know what that says, but that's the Skip Perry store. And this is the pharmacy, where Doc Johnson's office was. Was it on this side of the building?
In the front,
Was it in the front?
yes. I'll tell you a little story there. One day I was having a problem with my foot, so I went over and had him look at it, and he gave me some medication, and he said to me, well, see if that'll clear it up and come back in a couple days if it doesn't. So I went back in a couple days and it was doing pretty well. And so I said to him, well, how much do I owe you? He says, oh, well, give me $2. That was $19.50.
$2 to fix your foot? Wow. That's because there's no insurance.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And then he closed up in '75. That was the price of gas. And it was because the gas shortage, you couldn't get any gas delivered, or?
I think the gas shortage was 73 or 74, and it just, you know, it was so hard
Yeah.
after that.
And he just decided, this is enough.
Yeah.
Then he was inspecting my car, I
But I
think.
do have a funny,
Oh, good, tell it.
when, during the gas shortage, of course, my dad would get a lot of calls late at night. Prominent people needed gas, so, yes, my dad would sneak up at midnight and give these people gas, which he shouldn't have been doing, but when the real gas shortage, when they rationed,
Yes.
well, there was a big, long line, and it went up to what was Baxton's house at the top
Oh, yes.
of.
On the news
So he
street.
made me drive his vehicle with a sign in the back that said last vehicle, because we had to shut the line off. Well, a couple of my friends went by, so I would let them scoot in. And then Dad came up and he kind of took me out of the vehicle and shut the line down.
You lost your job.
I lost my job. Yep.
See, now, I kept my job because I worked at Newton Hospital
Oh.
as a nurse, so I was able to go.
You could get gas anytime? You're one of those people that were, what do they call them now? The workers?
Essentials.
Essentials, yes.
Essentials.
Yes. But they were essential long before that
Excuse me?
happened.
I even had a ticket.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. Okay. Then we get to Jerry's pharmacy. The next set of pictures I took off of the framed display that's in our museum that Bill Bathgate put together. So that's where these all come from. So this is from 1946. I think it was a newspaper article that was being done, and that's how Bill got these pictures, because they seem very professionally staged. They're not just random shots. Go ahead. So here's a bunch of kids sitting on the front porch, having ice creams and reading their comic books. I can't read those names right there, but if you are that interested, the display is right next door, so you could look it up next time you're here. And then, this one, I can tell you it's Sonny Avery, Clarice Horsfield, and Rex Lawson. And he's leaning up against that. She's reading him a story from her favorite magazine. Like I said, I think this is a photographed shoot for the Herald. Now this, I love this picture. This came out of a Selected Risks Insurance and SRI News magazine. And I swear, that's Jerry behind the counter, right there, Jerry Herzenberg. I'm sure this is Rhoda Cronenberg.
No, it's Mrs. Herzenberg.
I'm sure this is Mrs. Herzenberg. I'm positive. Positive. Doesn't she look like Rhoda? Come on. No? No, because you know it's not her. See, this is why you guys have to come to these things. If I just filmed these by myself, they'd be all wrong. Now they're just a little wrong. Okay. This is Jake and BJ and Clark Perry's mom sitting with the mayor, having a Coke at the fountain. I love this picture. Willard Decker. And then, I don't know these kids, but they look very happy. It's Emmett Cron and Kit Anderson.
Must be related.
No, nope. Great pictures. Those boys are happy, happy. And it says back here, Father's Day is June 16th, so it's before then. Yep. And they also had tables. These guys, families sitting at the tables. So it was a big joint to go get food. Yeah. Not just your pharmacy stuff. Now here comes a very interesting character, Ori Fields. As I told you before, I don't really know how to spell his name. And Ori was quite the interesting person. He had this store says Blue Knot Stores, B-L-U-E, knot as in a tie a knot store. And it was a chain of stores, and he had this one, although I don't think it was running like at full speed ahead at this time. This is Bill Bathgate's car. He had this picture, and it's in 1956, and he remembers being there. This is an add-on downstairs store and little apartment upstairs where Ori lived. And what I understand is that back at this point, really the store was now just in this section, that the store was smaller when you went in to get your candy. It was a small spot, not this big spot. I think what was going on in here, from the stories that Bill told me, I really wish he'd been able to be here, was that Ori would collect, he was a recycler. Like he would have old toilets and sinks and...
Well, you would have auctions. You could sell chickens and pit animals and what have you there, and all kind of goods and what have you.
And he also auctioned out of a barn on Madison Avenue, Bill said. Do you remember that at all?
I don't remember the Madison, but I remember going there.
The auctions would be in this building, and he had a barn on Madison.
And
They always had a big pot stove right in the middle of the place, wood stove. Oh,
Wait till you see my next shot.
All
You're
right.
gonna love this. Or this, I know. Yeah, you have to wait 1 minute because there's a slide in between.
He also had an old school bus. He made shells in it, and he went around to all the county and all the farms, and he sold stuff out of the...
Like groceries and that kind of stuff? Groceries?
Yeah.
Wow. An entrepreneur.
Where is that building?
This building does not exist anymore. Good question. I'm so glad you asked that question. This is now a town parking lot that's on the brook before you go over the bridge to go to Dave's Bar, aka Third Base, and soon to be whatever they name it from Selective Risk Insurance Company.
the flood took most of that out.
Well, it didn't. It didn't because that's what this picture is from '56. I think the flood damaged it a lot. And the flood damaged it a lot. Maybe that's why by '56 he didn't really use that big part of the building. It was too much damage, but it wasn't gone. They didn't knock it down until they cleared out that whole parking lot. Now Cliff's Garage still stands next to it. This is Cliff's Garage. It says Ford right there. So that's still there. This building is not there. That's McDonald's old house. Okay, McDonald's old house.
If I know that, I had a good picture of it.
Well, I have a picture of the McDonald's house, but it doesn't have Ori Fields in it. It's just the house. So that house is gone. Doris Woods lived in that house when she was a little girl, in case anybody wants to know that. Yes, yes, that's the picture. And that's probably the picture that Dave has. Okay, let's see what the next one. So a little bit about Ori. Bill Bathgate wrote a little vignette, a little essay about Sittin' and Spittin' was the name of it. And he said that Ori was a big, burly, friendly gentleman, big guy.
Big overhaul.
Oh, yeah, that's what he wore, overalls. He was a dairy farmer for his first job. He had a dairy farm on Plains Road, and his wife and boys ran the dairy farm. And he was, I said junk dealer, entrepreneur, auctioneer. He had the barn and some space in his Blue Knot store. And he would, as Jerry Orr just told us, he could auction off anything. He had chickens and anything he found around town, he could just sell it.
And Hershey's ice cream, you were going by the pint, and he would wrap it in paper for you to take home.
So the pint was not in a prepackaged thing, he would just scoop it
No,
out?
it was a prepackaged.
Oh, okay, because Bill Bathgate said that after church, they would go get 2 pints, and their mother would then chop the pint in half and hand half of a pint to each one of the
Yeah.
kids, and one for her husband, I guess, I don't know. So, it was a meeting places for all ages. This is where Bill got his first pack of cigarettes. And he did, Ori was known to be able to sell it to anybody that showed in and wanted to buy their smokes. And then they sat and spat on the stove. He said it smelled bad in there.
Oh.
So, and here's a picture of it. All right.
That looks good.
That's Daryl. It might have been a little bit before your time in there. This is Daryl Lance. This is Gert Moyer, his sweetie, and his clerk. And this is Dave Bathgate right here, and Larry Belcher right here. And here is the champion of the store, Ori, and Ketty Belcher is over here. Interesting. Yes.
My brother Harry, he took the picture.
It's right up here. I remembered, I forgot to say it, but it's up there. Harry Bathgate. It's one of the earliest Polaroids.
Oh, my goodness.
So, Brother Harry did that. And this is all canned goods here. This is the meat counter, and I don't know where the candy was, but it was there. Anybody remember which side it was on when you went in? This side?
Yeah, right.
Right in here. And they had
Nickel banjo.
Yeah.
nickel banjos, nickel something else, creamsicles, but what was the most expensive one? The fudgesicles were a dime.
And when you went into the bubble gum machine, if you got the purple and blue, then you got free candy.
Oh.
That was a thing, my brother Jeff told me about this at Johnny's Smoke Shop. Special bubble gums that would come out, you could, did you have to give them away, or did you eat the gum and get extra candy?
I don't
At Grand
remember
Union, it
giving
was a
them
dime
away.
back,
Okay.
and you gave the ball back.
You had to give the ball
I
back.
don't know if
I would
it's
think you had to
back
give
then.
it back, and then they would give you your extra 10 cents
Yeah.
worth of candy. It's like gambling.
Yeah.
You get but you always get something. So yeah, apparently this was the place to go for ice cream on a stick, as well as the pints.
Penny candy.
Penny candy was a big deal. Penny candy here, penny candy at Belcher's.
And Vidal's.
That's what I meant to say. I just looked at her and I said Belcher's. Vidal's.
Beetle. They called it
Beatles.
Did they sell meat?
These guys sold meat, yeah.
Okay, because my father was a state trooper, and he was stationed at Haynesville. And he used to come down here for the station to pick up their meat.
Yep, well, it was Ori's. Ori? Dave's like, I wouldn't eat that meat. Where'd that come from?
Oh my God.
Especially after smelling the store, right? It's so funny. That's one of the things that people that remember being in there will tell me that, oh, it just smelled so bad. But, okay, thanks, Phil. Oh, this big story of the flood. Ori got in his car during the flood, and his car got washed down the street into the mill race right across the street. Now, this building still stands.
Yeah.
That's still there. And this is the mill race that comes down. The pipe under the road from the Crispin mill pond was right here. The pipe here. The dam to make the pond is down here. But the pipe that brought the water to the mill came under the ground here and through this mill race down to the mill on Mill Street.
The dam was behind that building to the side. By the building.
No, it has to be down here because
Maybe I'm looking down.
It's still, you can still see part of it.
I'm looking here. This is where Ori Fields was right here. It's not there now. Here's that little building. And the dam is down by the McNeely house.
Right.
You can see it. So it's a little bit below that. Not much. I mean, this is all within like 20, 30 feet, but it's a little bit below here.
So, when the flood came, he was on his way home, and the flood, the floodwater washed him over into the canal there, and he had to climb out of the car and climbed up a tree. And
There's the tree. There's the tree right here.
Wow.
He clung to the tree so as not to be drowned in his car.
Happy
instead
victory.
of feet of water come all at once, you know.
Right, because the electric pond dam broke first. That came down, and then this wouldn't have hit the mill pond dam yet. Or I mean, it hit up here first, came down through the Mill Street, and then that dam broke down here and it went down through Hoos and Fletcher's. So, yeah, and then next picture is the front end. That's pointing back up towards his store across Mill Street. Bill Bathgate, Dave and Bill were talking about, I know there's a picture, I know there's a picture, I know there's a picture, and then finally Bill found it. I think Thursday he called me up and he goes, "You gotta come see what I found." So we found these pictures. So, treasures. Okay. Then Johnny's went to the center of town. Johnny's Smoke Shop and Restaurant. Bedell's is still there. Pearson's is still here. And someday I'm going to talk more about this building because I would say something now and I'm not going to get it right, but it's quite an interesting building too. So there's Johnny's. Go ahead and hit the button. Let's see what I've got here. We have one of these in the museum, but this came off of the internet. This picture, somebody was selling it on eBay. So funny. It's so funny. And this picture got a lot of hits on Facebook, and a lot of people said a lot of fun things about being up at the smoke shop and the ice cream cones, and did Johnny give better ice cream cones? Did Jimmy give better ice cream cones? I was afraid of John Weitzel. I was deathly afraid of him. If I went into the store and he was behind the counter, I didn't get an ice cream. I was too scared. Because if he went up to the counter and he said, "What do you want?" I'm like, I don't have all day. And then I'd be scared to death. If Jimmy was behind the counter, he'd give you a 2 beats or so to make up your mind. I was a cherry vanilla person at the time. But that was my, really, I hadn't been to any of these other places yet. Johnny's was my first hit on the walk around town. I forget what the next slide looks like. Okay, here's the inside. Yes?
Is that Johnny?
No.
That was not Johnny. That was a logo that the ashtray company put on the, no, Johnny didn't look like that. Johnny was a big guy. He was a big guy. And anyway, this was the entrance into his shop. And in the front were lots of magazines, and the candy was up there. And when you went in, if you started looking at the magazines, he'd yell at you. And that's what he would say. And then in the back were the tables and chairs, so you could order your food. And they, I don't know, did they bring it to you, or did you have to take it back there?
I was
Wait.
a waitress.
Lynn was a waitress.
Johnny Smoke Shop.
Oh, that's so good.
And the magazines were quite popular with the young boys because not only did he have Archie comic books, but he had
Girly mags.
girly magazines.
Yeah.
So the boys would hide behind the racks and look at the magazines.
Well, Vic Lucier, and I didn't stop to read it, but he has a memoir called A Sunday Afternoon, and it's so charming, it's so great. And he talks about going to Horry Fields and how he just loved Horry. They had the best candy, everything was great about Horry's, and just all the cool stuff that happened at Horry's. He also talks about sneaking in behind a bigger person to the magazines and hiding in there so he could look at them before he'd get yelled at. So Victor Lucier really told some great stories. Like I said, I don't feel like I have time to read through this. That would take us another half an hour, but there were great stories. We should just republish this and put it out there because it'd be fun. Anyway, so that's his, it's not a library. And then his brother Jim took over. And Jim and Mary Jane, and they ran the same business pretty much. It was Johnny's, and then it was Jimmy's. That's basically how I remember it.
Yeah.
And Jimmy was not scary I think he got the most votes on Facebook of giving the most ice cream for the scoop. I think he was the one that gave you the most. I have a quick story. I had my grandfather. My grandfather lived in Branchville for about, I don't know, 5 or so years before he passed away. And he loved going up to the luncheonette, loved it. And one day I said to him, Grandpa, I'll take you up for breakfast. He said, okay. So I go to pick him up, and he's not well. He is not well. And I said, and he's laying on his couch. I said, well, don't you feel good? No, I'm okay. I said, we don't have to go. No, we're going. So he gets himself out of his couch. He gets into my car. I drive him uptown. I get him out of the car. He can't breathe. And if I was older and more wise, I would have taken him to the hospital. But so then Jimmy comes out, and he goes, are you okay? He goes, yeah. So then my grandmother gets inside, and right inside the door was the newspaper box. Everything was laid out there. He plops down right on it. And Jimmy comes over and goes, Mr. Lutz, what can I get you? What can I do for you? He goes, I need a short stack and a cup of coffee. And within a half an hour, he was in the emergency room having a heart attack. But he got 2 bites of his pancakes. He says, I got to go home. So I took him home, called the ambulance, and then we went. He lived a little longer. But Jimmy was just a good guy. Okay. This is another one. 5 and dime, gumballs, a little bit of candy. They still, right now, up there, this is the pharmacy, Branchville Pharmacy now. They still have lots of interesting candy. They have Pez up there. We're Pez lovers. But the guy, Mr. Howe, was kind of also scary. He's mean.
He was.
He's really mean. And he would yell at you. And he had a big sign on his wooden screen door, don't let her slam. And if it slammed, oh my gosh, well, you got screamed at from across he was way in the back. And he yelling, no restrooms, come in here, buy your stuff, and get out. But Victor Lucier has this good story about after the flood, and he was too little to remember this. His older brother told him. The flood ran through House 5 and Dime and washed a lot of toys into the Lucier backyard. So they had this treasure chest. And it's that's the story Victor tells. And then the Grand Union, I think this is our last stop on the hit parade. The Grand Union was also another gumball stop, as John has just said. And also, one time though, a big candy bar accidentally made its way into a trombone case that had just, randomly opened up in the middle of the candy aisle. And
I wasn't alone.
When John got home, his father discovered what he had done and marched him back up there, returned the candy.
With the help of
Walter Ackerley. Well, that explains it. That's the only reason.
And Jim hired me 4 years later, and I worked there.
Okay, so
I don't know why.
it was okay.
Guilty.
I always hear. I remember going to the Grand Union when it was the Grand Union down there. I remember that very clearly, but I didn't have the relationship because we were kind of new to town that you guys had. I've heard all nice things about the Jim May was his name.
Yeah.
And Bobby
Bloomhagen.
Bloomhagen and Betty Bloomhagen.
And the manager before Jim was Red Helms.
Red Helms. Okay.
Who hired me.
You were an employee at the Grand Union as well? My goodness.
I waited on his father.
Who was buying Winston and Salem?
Oh, the cigarettes. Yeah.
Working with Betty and Renee were amazing.
Yeah.
Carly and Marion.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Lee Doremus.
Lee Doremus worked there too?
Yeah.
Huh. Was he a butcher back there?
No,
Okay.
Really young.
Yeah.
Produce.
Yeah. Okay. That's. As I said, this store really was one of the reasons we moved to Branchville is because my mother didn't drive and she needed to be able to walk to get groceries, and that was the selling point right there.
And that was established at Grand Union as an experimental store that lasted for how many years?
Oh.
Wow.
Experimental because it was just
I guess they were going for the little
okay.
town look, I don't know.
Well, they had done it in the one uptown that was Johnny's Smoke Shop. That was the Grand Union, and then they moved it down here.
Yep.
But that had to move before '66 because I showed up in '66 and the Grand Union was already there. So I guess it happened. It had to happen in '62 because that's when Johnny took over So 62.
And Mary Moyer worked as in the meat room.
In the what room?
The meat room.
Oh, okay, okay.
They had a full meat room with a
Wow.
butcher.
Wow.
Full-time butcher.
With Harley Horton.
Harley Horton was there first, and then, he came back, he still worked for Grand Union, but he wasn't the butcher there anymore, it was the younger guy. And, but Harley would sub once in a while. And, butcher that replaced him, because the stock was stored upstairs. And so the one day, the butcher put his foot through the ceiling, when they were up there. And I remember they had 2 tractor trailers that would deliver. There was a meat truck that would come in, and the grocery truck would come in. There were pylons there in front of where the conveyor came out. And they claimed that grocery truck driver could not get that truck positioned in there unless he was drunk. Because they couldn't just pull up straight because of the cars and stuff up
Yeah.
above it. So he had to kind of jockey it in there, and he had to line the side door of the trailer up to that.
And he
conveyor.
did it. He did it when he was drunk. So he must have had to go drinking before he delivered
Probably all day
there
long.
every time.
Meat
That was
truck
his
driver,
excuse.
meat truck driver carried stuff with him too, because he shared. He was a retired cop. He was a big Irishman.
When it was, all I can remember when it was the Garrison garage, Ford garage, they used to store the caskets upstairs from Wood's funeral. I don't know if that's true or not. They always told us that.
He probably saw.
Oh,
That's
I didn't go in there.
So that's the old Grand Union. That's the old Grand Union. And then there's Jerry's Luncheonette. And that was another place that you could go sit at the counter and get ice cream or treats. And I worked there, Lynn.
Yep.
I was behind the counter there on Sunday mornings. I think I had to be there by like 7 a.m. at the earliest. At the latest. And, but the guys would have already gone up the side steps to Jerry's apartment. Skip Harry would have already gone up, banged on the door, get down here and make us coffee. And then they'd be let in. So they already had their coffee poured before I showed up.
What was it before it was Jerry's? I can't remember.
I think it was called the Branchville Lunch, but I don't know who ran it.
Ken Howie had it
Who did?
Ken Howe.
Ken Howie
Ken
had
Howie?
Ken Howe, yeah.
Ken Howie had it. I don't remember that, but it was called the Branchville Lunch.
Remember the
There was another-
Yeah?
He was their stepfather.
Oh, okay. Oh, I kind of knew that, yeah.
There's a fellow from Lake Owassa that bought it and fixed it all up, and then he sold it, I think, to Ken Howie.
Did he ever run it, the Lake Owassa guy? Not really?
Maybe for a very short time.
Okay.
Because it was a barber shop before.
It was a barber shop?
It was a barber shop.
Oh, yeah.
Because when I was born, that's where I lived. They brought me home to that.
You lived up here?
Yes.
Nice, Janet.
Yeah.
Nice.
Till I was 3.
Pete Smith was the barber? All right, I'm going to believe you. I'm not going to look it up. So, and now it's a hair shop again.
Yeah.
So, goes around. That's cool. Okay. I don't know what else I got. Oh, Jerry at the counter. It's a good shot, right? I think this came from a newspaper article as well. Yep. And that's where I learned to slice a corn muffin, butter it, and throw it on a grill. And serve it with a side of jelly, grape jelly. So.
Mike and I, when we first moved to Branchville, that was the first place we went, was Jerry's. And we walked in the door, and Jerry turned around and said to both of us, "Oh, you're the people that bought Bosie's house." And we just stood there like, we had just signed the papers.
That's how you're identified in a small town. You live in so-and-so's house. It's not your house yet. You have to sell it, and then it becomes your house. That's funny. Okay. And then this is my closing. Things have changed. But It's been fun to share all the memories that you guys have had about these places. Very fun. I appreciate it. That's obviously a stock footage photo because nobody in the old days had that color ice cream, but I threw it in there anyway. Okay. One more. The end. Gummy worms, candy corn. I love candy corn. And then one more. As I say, my thanks. Again, Bill Bathgate, I'm sorry he wasn't able to attend today, had lots of information, lots of photographs. Dave Bathgate had lots of stories, we sat on that porch and poured over photographs. I found stuff, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. That's where I stole your Victor Lucier paper. I'll return it, but I took it right away. I took it out of his hands. And it's just been very helpful to have these people work with me on these presentations. I could never do this. I don't know any of this stuff, so it's helpful for me to have people that do it. And all the BBHS folks that get this job done, so thank you very much. I want you to all eat something, take home fistfuls of candy, because we have a lot of candy. Jerry?
I think you missed one in town. The Paulisons had the ice cream where the liquor store was, next to Silverman's. The Paulisons were there.
Paulisons?
Family for years and years.
And that was an ice cream store?
Mm-hmm.
Before it was
and then
the deli?
Harry and Mary Dreamus ran that after that.
I'm going to have to add that to my collection.
When I worked for Sam, it was there in 1950.
Okay. And prior to that, it was an ice cream store too?
Well,
I'm gonna have to quiz you on that, but that was
I know it was the Paulison family.
okay.
I think they sold to Harry Dreamus. He was there quite a while.
Is Harry Lee's father?
Yeah.
So if I ask Lee this question, he'll know it too.
When he left there, he went to the bank, I think, but he had
Okay.
luncheonette.
Huh.
And he may have even moved over where Jerry was for a very short time.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I know he was in there.
Doremus moved into Jerry's Luncheonette.
Yeah.
Do you know that
I think so.
that building has those really old-fashioned refrigerator boxes, ice boxes, the big wooden thing with the glass window, and you pull that handle. So it seems like it's been there a long time as a food place. So I'll double check. I mean, I'm not checking up on you. I'm going to gather more information. So I appreciate that. So I believe you, Jerry. All right. Anybody else have anything to add to the videotape? Yes.
Well, it just seems like there were so many food stores and little stores that do this and that. Now it's basically, you can't, just bread, milk, eggs, things like that.
How many times I wish I could just run up into town for bread, milk, and eggs. Yeah, yeah.
There's a half a dozen places there.
Yeah. It's amazing how many, just the grocery store business, let alone the sweet shop business, but the grocery store business, there was the Blue Knots, and there was the Stop and Shop in Grand Union, that was Johnny's Smoke Shop, and there was the place that was where the post office is now.
Yeah.
That was Gibbons, right? Isidore Gibbons. And
Even
Belcher's then, the Grand Union then, yeah, it's we had so many good places to shop.
Isidore Gibbons was an A&P.
Isidore was an A&P, and then what I heard of, yes, I heard this from Bill. He ran the A&P, and then when they built the A&P in Newton, he wanted the job over in Newton to be the manager of the A&P there, and they wouldn't give it to him, so he kept that building, and he kept the store, and he made it just as independent grocery store. So, yeah, somebody open it up. There's plenty of places. You could build one on the lot in the middle of town. Just see Shelley. She'll sell it to you cheap. Well, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed it.